Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. Coming at you live from Borelli's Tap Room in the great Long Beach, New York. Big show coming up for you tonight. We got Islanders and Rangers on the TVs here. Big game for the Isles. Need the big 2 points here. We got Coach Ed from the Rangers Ed podcast joining us later on in the show to talk a little Rangers, talk a little Carson, Soucy, and whatnot. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Arthur Staple. Arthur, how we doing, bud?
Doing great. How we doing, Sean? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, too. Nice to be back at Borelli's. Love being here. They do a wonderful job here. Looking forward to talking Islanders, but before we do, I want to start by just thanking our wonderful sponsor, Razor, Kniff, and Launstein, attorneys at law ready to fight for you. Check them out at razorandkniff.com. That is RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And folks, if you are hanging out with us live in the chat and you want to get your questions in for Questions Brewing, just type in Questions Brewing, followed by your question, and we will answer it later on in the show. So without further ado, Arthur, let's talk about these 29-19-5 New York Islanders. Back tied for second place in the Metro with Pittsburgh. However, Pittsburgh has played 2 less games. The Islanders, with the win last night, pull 6 points away from Washington, from Philadelphia, and Columbus back in the mix here a little bit. So a little bit of breathing room, but there are some games in hand here and there. But a week that started off all right. I mean, we go back to our last show. They were still on the road trip. You had Vancouver. Got out of that one by the skin of their teeth. But how are they playing these days?
Much better this week. If we'd had a show on Sunday, we definitely would have cut off the bad stuff with kind of a dud finish to the road trip in Seattle, and then a real dud on coming back home against Buffalo. And it was a team that was in need of a refresh this week, and they certainly got it with a great game in Philly, and certainly, you know, the 2 trades that they made, and then going into last night with the Rangers, putting down a team that is ready to be put down. So hopefully tonight, too, they can continue that to close the casket on the Rangers season.
Yes, for sure. And since, we go back, so far to the last show, we can kind of breeze through these games here. But Vancouver, I mentioned it just before, not the prettiest game for the Islanders. They started out chasing there, but Duke gets 2 goals, another one from Richie. Ryan Pulock gets a goal on a wrister. Maybe that's something you should consider going forward, because when he winds up, it usually doesn't go towards the net. But look, they beat a team they're supposed to beat, last in the NHL, but it was a little hairy there in the beginning.
Yeah, not a great start. And, Vancouver, I think, we've talked about it a lot here, I think, about playing down to the level of your opponent. That's about as down as you can get with a team that's 32nd in the league. But, maybe they tried to hand it away a little bit, kind of dragging through the end of that road trip, a long trip, 2 weeks, 7 games, but scored enough to bring it back. And like you said, nice to see Duclair again, lighting the lamp. He's really been solid and kind of earned his way back into the top 6. And you're on a road trip like that, you guarantee yourself 500 with that win. That's really all you want to do when you're coming back.
No doubt. And then moving on to some not so great games for the New York Islanders. Wednesday, they go into Seattle, the Lane Lambert revenge game, and they drop this one 4-1. The Isles go 1 for 7 on the power play. They just don't have it. It's the last game of a 7-game road trip. Maybe they were just feeling a little tired there at the end.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of highlighting again. We've been here before in the last few years with this team, whether it's Barry Trotz behind the bench or Lane Lambert or Patrick Waugh. The power play just needs to be better, and when you get 7 opportunities a game, particularly early on, with had a 5-on-3, Duclair did score the power play goal early on, and maybe it looked like, okay, this is going to be easy. You're getting a lot of calls too. Lane Lambert looked like he was going to pop a blood vessel when the Kraken got their 4th penalty of the first period. But you got to take advantage, and they really didn't, and it kind of started to get away from them with Seattle getting a couple of good power play opportunities and converting theirs.
Yeah. So then you come home, and we've talked about this multiple times now heading into Saturday.
Such a trap game.
This was essentially a trap game, disaster in waiting, if you will. Not only against a hot Buffalo Sabres team, but a matinee, which the Islanders famously don't do well in, which is strange because all the teams have to do it. Everybody has to play in the afternoon, but for some reason when the Islanders do, it just doesn't work out.
And, I have to say the first 37, 38 minutes of that game, they were good.
Yes.
They were good. They were generating a lot of chances, a lot of 2-on-1s, a couple breakaways. Alex Lyon was really good for Buffalo in net, but you got to be able to overcome that. You got to be able to score some goals. They weren't able to, and then it starts to fall apart, and not only fall apart with the late second period goal to make it 2-0, but then Patrick Waugh very decisively benching Matthew Barzal and his line with Duclair and Anders Lee.
Yes.
No shifts in the third period for those guys, and it really started to get out of hand from there.
Yeah, and even on the defensive side of things, I mean, this was a rough night for Boquist Mayfield. I would say a rough week for the third pairing in general, and maybe that's kind of what helped pull the trigger with the moves we're going to talk about in a little while.
Sure.
But, just the game you have to forget immediately, and thankfully for the Islanders, they did, right? They go to Philadelphia on Monday, and not only did they get the 2 points, but they take care of business. They showed up. They took care of business. Shutout for Sorokin, and a real strong effort from the Islanders.
Absolutely. And, Philly's kind of been in a fragile state the last couple of weeks. They got off to a good start, maybe a little bit more unexpected for them than you would have thought to start this season. But they've been drifting back. They're out of the playoffs. Need to show some desperation. The Islanders kind of took that away from them right away. And it was a very low event game you'd call. Not a lot of chances. Not a lot of shots for the Flyers. I think they ended up with 20 or 21 in that game and only had about a dozen through the first two periods. So good to see a lot of guys on the Islanders having good games. Ilya Sorokin obviously, lights out once again, leading the league in shutouts with 6, leading the league in a lot of other goalie categories too. Really good game from Tony DeAngelo. First of a couple this week where he was really good, and we'll talk about him a little bit later.
We shall.
And just a solid effort top to bottom where you take a team that's chasing you. If the Flyers had won that game in regulation, they would have been tied with a game in hand. Islanders put some distance between them, and then you follow it up again with another game on a night when the Flyers lose last night again, and the Islanders beat the Rangers, and all of a sudden 6 points looks like a lot now with just under 30 games to go.
And for me, Arthur, this is a very encouraging win because the biggest game of the season, you hear that a lot, but up until that point, right? I mean, this was a game where, as you just highlighted, they dropped this game and all of a sudden everybody's panicking, right? Yeah. You can just think of the reactions, at home, on Twitter, whatever it may be, and you get nervous about where this team is. So for me, I'm encouraged that they understood the assignment and they passed with flying colors here. And I think you just look at the outlook on the rest of the season. Now they have to do the work, of course, but when they can show up for a game like that, the way that they did, that makes me feel a lot better about the bigger games coming up later in the season.
Sure, and again, the response too from guys like Barzal coming off the third period benching, handled it well, the same way he handled the healthy scratch for oversleeping earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. I think he's showing his maturity. He's showing that he wants to be a leader on this team, set the example. He had a good game in Philly. You see Isaiah George come up, has an assist. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he went back down after the Soucy trade, but you want to see him, he's been chomping at the bit. The injuries have really hurt him to get his chance to be that sixth defenseman. And now, obviously, with Soucy here, he's not going to get it really the rest of this year, but at least he has some confidence from appearing in that game and being able to participate in a game that went really well. Yeah, you just like that one from top to bottom. And hard, other than Sorokin, other than Tony D, hard to single anybody out, and that's great. You want to see everybody say to yourselves, we had two bad ones. We had an especially bad one in our first game back at home.
Right.
Now it's all divisional games. We got it super important. No matter where the Rangers are in the standings, no matter where the Flyers, these things can always go sideways when you're playing a rival, and they took care of business.
They did, and they did the same thing last night at home against the New York Rangers. They gave up a couple of goals this time, but you forgive that with the goals that they put in.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the way they started that game, what it was, 7-8-0 in shots, about 10 minutes in. The Rangers, not just because of making that first trade, and obviously the news right before the game starts where they're sitting Artemi Panarin until he gets traded, which probably won't last too much longer. But that's a team that's okay. They not only the letter they waved the white flag, a little over a week ago. They if you can wave two flags, I guess that's when you're sitting your best scorer out. So I think you take a fragile team like that. They come in. You could always feel that dead cat bounce where they might play a little bit looser, knowing what's coming. They still have some good players on their team, and you saw that with the nice power play goal they had in the first period. But again, the Islanders took advantage, scored some goals when they needed to, got their new guys involved, which was great to see. Ondrej Palat coming over from Jersey just the day before, and boom, he's in the bumper spot on the power play.
Right. Of course,
and
just how they wrote it up.
Scores a fantastic shot. Good setup from Simon Holmstrom. Holmstrom had a fantastic game, I thought.
Yes.
Really, really being aggressive, and I think understanding that when you add guys like Palat, Holmstrom is not necessarily a guy who's guaranteed to get a lot of offensive type minutes. He's going to kill penalties. He's going to do what he does, but he's a guy in danger of losing his minutes when a veteran forward comes in, a veteran winger comes in. So he responded the way you wanted to. Another good game from Tony D. That pass for Holmstrom was fantastic play from him. I think you're seeing the best of Tony D'Angelo right now, which is great timing. And I'm sure he loves to light it up against the Rangers. Hopefully he does it again tonight. And David Riddick, didn't face a lot of shots and did give up a couple goals, but he had a really rough month. He's kind of regressed maybe in the last few games that he's played to the guy that you're kind of like, are we going to be really relying on this guy, where we had relied on him quite a bit when Sorokin was out. But good to see him get back in the win column and feel some confidence too.
Yeah, no doubt. And you talk about D'Angelo, and as you said, we'll talk about him some more later on. But he had almost an identical pass to Bo Horvat as well that almost ended up in a goal there. Just Horvat couldn't get the handle on it. But yeah, he had the vision last night. That's for sure.
Yeah, and when he's feeling it, that's what you want to see. You want to have that second guy who can really, whip it around in the offensive zone and get involved in the play besides Schaefer. When you have that kind of guy who can, two guys on two different D pairs that can be that dangerous, that's what you want. You kind of establish now Carson Soucy is a real steady Eddie type guy. Him and Scott Mayfield are going to be the kind of third pair that can move some bodies around, kill some penalties. So you need some offense from the other guys, and Tony's really bringing it lately.
Yeah, without question. And let's focus a little bit on the new guys right now. Obviously, you talked about Palat with the big power play goal. Where do you envision him in this lineup long term? He got on the first line, but you think that's going to be long term here?
I think it will be, because I don't. When they made the trade, I said, who does this guy knock out of the lineup? I guess Shabanov was really kind of the obvious guy.
Yeah.
And Palat played a lot of his time in Jersey in the top six. He got a lot of time with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt when they weren't loading up that top line. He played some with Nico Hischier. He's a guy who's obviously his career speaks for itself in Tampa before he signed that big deal in Jersey. That he was a guy who, part of that triplets line with Tyler Johnson way back in the day that really shined when Tampa first burst on the scene, kind of that 2015 run to the finals and obviously their cup runs. He's just a clutch guy. He's not a guy you notice very much, and that's not always a compliment to a forward, but I think he does a lot of stuff that people don't see aside from the offensive stuff. And I think you saw it too, not just with what he said, talking very humbly about how he really didn't play well in Jersey, and it bothered him quite a bit. But hearing from the Devils players, he was traded in the middle of that game the other night that they were playing Winnipeg, hearing from Nico Hischier, hearing from some other important guys in that room saying, this was a guy we leaned on a lot. And obviously Jersey hasn't had a season like they'd want. So maybe Palat's numbers look a little bit more stark, but I don't think that's what you have him for. You don't have him. And he said it too. He's not a 50-goal scorer. But he is a guy who's one of the all-time leaders in playoff goals. I think Ranger fans certainly remember with a wince in 2022 when they were up 2-0 on Tampa in the conference final, had a really competitive game, and he whacked one in. I think it was in Game 3, late in that game. The Rangers could have gone up 3-0 and probably would have been in the finals that year, but for Ondrej Palat. So he is a guy that knows when to raise his game, and I felt like hearing the things that he said before his first game wasn't a surprise to me to see him come out the way that he did. And I think for that reason, because the Islanders forwards are kind of interchangeable, there's nobody that you're really saying like, wow, that guy deserves to be in the top six, or that guy, what's that guy doing on the third line? I think he could stay if he's got some chemistry with Horvat and Heineman. And Heineman had a nice goal, too, off a setup from him.
Sure did.
Might as well keep it rolling.
That's what we'll start calling vintage Heineman.
Yeah. Right. Down to one knee in the slot, going up top shelf. We like to see that.
Yes, we do. You know what's funny about Palat? I retired from fantasy hockey this year.
Congratulations. That's a good step.
One of the best decisions I ever made.
As an adult, for sure.
Yes. So, but the funny thing about him, and in the years and years that I played fantasy hockey, never a guy you draft. But, I always found myself almost year in, year out picking him up off the waiver wire. Because he just goes on a run, puts a bunch of points up on the board. And you're like, you know what? I can put this guy in my squad.
Yeah.
And that's the type of player he's been. But, obviously now we know, if not to say that they weren't already, but this team is serious about making the playoffs.
Yes.
So if they get there, and it's looking decent at the moment, I mean, he's a great guy to have there.
Yes.
He's a great guy to have there.
Yes.
Clutch in big moments, as you just very well described. And I think he's a guy who, he can also go up and down the lineup, kind of like you said, too, right? Where even if he's not going to stick with Horvat and Heineman the whole time, maybe you try him with Barzell, maybe you try him with Pajot, you know what I mean? Those are two clutch guys right there in the same line.
Yeah. Yeah. And, if Mathieu Darche isn't done adding, if he does manage to pull off more of a trade for now and for the future with, getting a scoring winger and it ends up bumping Palat down, I don't think that's going to affect him. I think he understands that where he is in his career. He's almost 35.
Sure.
I think he just wants to contribute to a winning team. He wasn't able to do that in Jersey. They did have at least one good year where they went to the second round, and he was a part of that. But I think it didn't work out, and his contract was really one of the albatross contracts that they had. We'll see if the Devils decide to do anything to change their mix a little bit further. So I think he recognizes that this is a chance for him to play on a team. It's not, it's not considered a major Stanley Cup contender. There's definitely teams that are going to be ahead of them in the standings, even if they make the playoffs. But they've got Matthew Schaefer, they've got Ilya Sorokin, both playing at a really high level. And the East is just not a scary place right now. You don't see anybody and say, man, I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs. So I think when you have an Ondrej Palat on your side, maybe he's not going to score 2 points every game from now until the end of the season. But if you get in the playoffs, he's a guy you want to have.
Without a doubt. And let's break right now, Arthur, and then we'll talk a little bit more about these trades. I want to talk more about the Darche plan as well. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York live from Borelli's Tap Room. But big thanks to everybody hanging out with us here, having a great time. Looking forward to the game tonight. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the train rolls on.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest. And Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Join us right now from the Rangers Ed podcast is Little Ed himself. How you doing, bud? Thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Pretty good, guys. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet Arthur next to me. It's just great to be here.
Yes, indeed. So, Ed, obviously, things not going so great for your squad this year. A letter has been sent to the masses
2.0
to let everybody know
right.
that this isn't going to be their year. So, let's just start with that there. How are you feeling about this? Are you on board with this pivot the jury's making? And do you have hope for the future?
Yeah, we're on board. I guess the elephant in the room is Artemi Panarin, right? And going in a different direction in that department. I wanted to send Coach Ed up here in my stead, but he couldn't make it.
Yeah, a little swap on the fly here.
No, he has very strong feelings, and he has a good hockey mind as well. In terms of the Panarin, so I'll try to sum it up as best as I can, is that, yeah, of course, he had the fantastic regular season numbers. The playoff numbers can be taken or left, if you will, So I think the direction of the team is more of that two-way play, especially with Coach Mike Sullivan at the helm. So obviously we saw the outstanding defensive structure in the beginning of the season. That started to take a dive, of course, when they were struggling with their confidence and scoring and whatnot. So I think that's what they mean by the letter, is that's the direction we want to head. We're going to target specific types of players. And I agree with it. And like I said, I mentioned Coach Mike Sullivan. I believe in his system or his message. And I think we're in good hands in that department. And of course, everyone disagrees with Chris Drury, and there's a lot of buzz around that. But we believe in giving him a chance, or continuing to give him a chance, because these types of things don't happen overnight.
And real quick, what's going on with the shirt here?
Yeah, so this is our newest member, or our newest merch that we're trying to push.
Okay.
Coach Mike Sullivan said this in one of his press conferences, that's the message he's trying to deliver, is sweat equity.
Okay.
And I don't know how much sweat equity Panarin is willing to put in.
Okay.
So I think that's the message that they're trying to send, and not what I'm trying to, I guess, deliver to the Rangers fan base, if you will.
All right, looking smart, man.
I'll ask you, Ed. obviously Carson Soucy's gone. Artemi Panarin will be gone soon. How far do you want them to go? Do you want them to explore and possibly trade Vincent Trocheck? What about Braden Schneider? What about Alexis Lafreniere? When you talk about two-way guys, Vincent Trocheck is one of the ultimate two-way guys. They're going to get a lot of good offers for him, but do you want to see them go as far as they can go with this teardown?
I'm glad you asked about that, because that's what was confusing about the letter, is that like he kind of said we're looking to blow up the team while also being a contender.
Yeah.
That's a tough line to walk.
The way I look at that is like, if you're trying to compete next year and the next coming years, why would you trade away one of your top leaders in Vincent Trocheck, one of the best two-way players in the league, in my opinion, with face-offs and penalty kill and everything like that? And there's a reason why the buzz around right now is that Panarin, or his value, is going to be even bigger than Panarin's in terms of a trade.
I agree.
So if teams want him that bad for the playoffs and they're looking to make the playoffs next year, why would you get rid of a player like that? And the same thing kind of goes for Braden Schneider. I know he's kind of had his struggles, but we kind of but he's never had a consistent D partner. And once again, like, a right-handed strong defenseman is very hard to come by. And there's a reason why everyone is looking to trade for him.
Exactly.
So why give up a player like that when everyone's trying to look for a player like that? We're not lucky to get Schaefer like you guys had. But, I mean, we had our chance with Laffy, and you asked about him as well. I'm not really ready to give up on him at that much. I mean, I know I'm kind of in the minority. Man. I'm a patient man. He's still a young kid. I know he should have probably blossomed before this, but he had a very unique situation. He didn't have like a rebuilt team to come into and be the guy like Bedard did. He was always living under Panarin's shadow. And I said that this actually when I had your colleague Johnny Laz on our show recently, is he hasn't had a chance to blossom because he's always living underneath Mika Zibanejad's shadow, even Trocheck, Panarin especially. If you really look at Laffy's game closely, he's always looking to make the pass or deflect or like give credit to Panarin or give credit to someone else. He hasn't had the chance to like really be the guy. Yeah. The first round pick.
Okay.
Because the Rangers are never going to be that tear it down, to the studs
They might
team.
be soon. You never know.
Well, we'll see. But that's what the confusing part about the letter was, I guess.
So Ed, two-parter here. First one, not a blockbuster trade by any stretch, but were you happy with the return for Soucy? and second, what's your feeling on the Islanders and Rangers making trades? I've seen some Islander fans like grumble about it, like, oh, what are they doing trading with the Rangers? They're their rivals, and I'm like, the rivalry's dead.
Yeah, I mean,
the rivalry's dead.
Well, the third round pick, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's what the Rangers traded to get Soucy.
Yeah.
So to get the same return back, I mean, it's a wash. So you can't be really upset about that. But in terms of like making the trades with the Islanders, I think is like the fourth in history. If I'm
fifth.
Fourth. I think it's the fourth.
Oh yeah, I mean this one is kind of the
We'll
most.
go to the chat later.
This one is the most consequential, I would say.
It's a very low number. I mean, I hope they're not going to trade Panarin to the Islanders if something like that. But a player like
that's
Soucy,
coming up a little bit.
That was coming up, which is a little confusing. It's like he had a chance to sign with the Islanders to begin with. But obviously, you're in a much different position now than you guys were when you were looking to sign. But yeah, back to like the Soucy situation is I don't necessarily mind it as long as it's not, I guess, like a Panarin type player where he's really going to hurt us. I mean, we really did like Soucy, but he's one of those players where the defensive system, like, it stuck in the beginning, but then it started to tail off a little bit. And you see some of the younger guys or the less experienced guys start to look a little lost.
Yeah.
Like Will Borgen, not to go off on another topic, but he's one of them we noticed.
And Ed, your boy Gaza here in the chat says only 4 times, so it looks like I had it right.
Gaza,
yeah, good for you.
That.
Good for you.
Bringing a fan in the chat.
All right, so Ed, you want to see them tear it a little bit down and build it back up, but you also want to see some of their young guys get a little bit more burn here.
Yeah.
Who are some of the guys that you feel like deserve to play a little bit more the rest of the way here once they start clearing out, whether it's Panarin plus or just Panarin? Who should be able to get a little more time or even get a call up that hasn't been up yet?
Well, like with the trade like Soucy, I see like Ranger fans are like, oh, we got the letter, but all you're going to give us is like a Soucy trade or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's not really a big
You don't
trade.
need a letter for that, I would say.
But like that makes room for other players to succeed.
Sure.
So like Robertson the other night got a few more minutes, had a great game and scored the overtime goal. So like if you look at the big picture, Soucy with a third round pick, whoop-de-doo. But now that's making room for other players like Robertson. And once again, Coach Ed, we saw Robertson in Hartford years ago. And we're like, when is this kid going to get a chance? Because he was phenomenal down in Hartford. So we're, lack of a better word, proud of him to like finally get the chance, you know, and really succeed. Like, and it's good. It shows like if you give these players a chance, like Laffy, maybe they will blossom. Robertson is 26, 27?
I don't know if he's quite that old yet, but he has been in the minors for a long time.
He's older than a typical rookie or second-year player.
It's been a while. But you're right. You have to see those guys, even with retool, rebuild, if it takes a year, 3 years, 4 years, you got to have those guys pop because you can't fix what you can't replace Panarin and Soucy and whoever else or Braden Schneider with just trades and free agency,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. No, I agree. And they did a great job with Will Cooley.
Another good
Noah
one.
Laba's another one. And now Gabe Perreault is starting to make a little bit of noise. I'm a big believer on the play. They should be starting in Hartford or in the minors and learning how to be a professional, how to carry themselves, how to deal with adversity, how to take a hit, give a hit, maybe get into a little scrap here and there, penalties, play penalty kill, you name it. And Gabe Perreault started out in the AHL, and he kind of proved that he shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I at least think that they should start there and really give them no reason but to call them up. So I think that's a big problem that they have with the development of Kakko and Laffy is that, yes, second-round pick, first-round pick, like the media, and no offense, but
you can blame me. It's fine.
And
it's
the
always
headlines
fault.
and stuff is saying, like, of course, no, not you. I mean, the Rangers media, like saying, like, oh, first-round pick starting in Hartford, all the negativity. You know what I mean? So, like, something like that, it's a different factor as well, I think, especially with the Rangers, a big market team.
Yeah.
So, Ed, let's pivot a little bit here. How's everything going at the Rangers Ed Pod? You guys had a viewing party in Manhattan last night. How'd it go, man?
Yeah, we had a good time last night at O'Brien's Bar and Grill. Shout out to them and across the street from Penn Station and MSG.
Nice.
So it was a good time. We're starting to do some content with them and whatnot, and similar to what you guys do here. So yeah, it was a good time. We had a good turnout, and not the outcome we wanted with the game, but it is what it is. But we had a good time, and everyone was cheering and meeting each other, and that's what it's all about, right? So that's what we like to keep it light, especially between us and our shows. And it's friendly competition.
Now, let me ask you, and I'm really going to try not to be a troll here, but you are on our Islanders podcast here.
We're here.
So last year, the Rangers came in at the end of the season and completely bombed the Islanders, and that was the deciding factor for the ping pong balls on Schaefer. Now, I won't belabor that point because it's probably a sore subject for a Ranger fan. But the Rangers swept them last year.
Yes, I remember that last year.
And clearly it didn't mean much. The Islanders could sweep the Rangers tonight, but the Rangers could, maybe their ping pong balls slide up a little bit. Where do you fall on that? Tanking to me that's such a dirty word if you're a real fan, because you never want to see your team lose.
No,
you want to see a Matthew Robertson shine even in defeat. You want to see a Brennan Othman get some confidence.
Of course.
But if the Islanders pipe them tonight, maybe you get the first overall pick. So
Listen,
where do you land there?
I'm never going to complain about the first overall pick. Obviously, Gavin McKenna is the big buzz. Personally, I'm not really impressed yet by him.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of back and forth whether he's really going to be, as good as everyone says. So I think the jury's still out on that, but I think the solution is already within the picks. I mean within the locker room. Like I said, we already have Cooley, Laba, Perreault, a lot of young guys. Even Laffy can be still thrown in that category. A lot of young guys. I don't think anyone's really going to be the savior like Schaefer was.
Yeah,
agree with that. Like I said, the Rangers are never going to be that organization where even if they draft McKenna, where are they going to start him on the third line? Like they did with Laffy, and that just halters the development. Sullivan's a little bit better with playing the young guys. Excuse me, Sean, but it's still not fully there. What I mean with the Rangers organization.
That's not the
general.
kind of coach that they usually get in there either.
Right.
They had it with Quinn a little bit, but
even him, he was the one who had Laffy and Kakko to begin with.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they signed Panarin, and that just put a halt on the whole thing.
You might be able to argue with last season's turn of events saving Matthew Schaefer's career. Because if he had gone to the Rangers, that's where top round picks go to die, right?
Wow.
He's always got.
You didn't even want Matthew Schaefer. That's what we're saying
Arthur.
here.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh gosh.
No, man. He's an exciting player to watch. It really is. I said it before the season. I told you about when I did the craft fair on the boardwalk. I could tell of the mood shifting on Long Island, and Islander fans are proud to be Islander fans again, and I'm not one of those Ranger fans that like truly like hates the Islanders. My dad might say
you
a
are
different
here,
story.
so I feel like that's probably true.
Obviously, Sean's a good friend, and I hope Arthur we could become good friends as well. But Coach Ed went through the '80s, so his idea might be a little different. But me, I like watching good hockey. I can appreciate a very good defenseman, Sean, as you know. So, I can't hate it. Especially, I want the rivalry to be where it should be.
Can everybody be good at the same time?
Right.
Can we get that, please?
It's always like the ebbs and flows recently with the Rangers and Islanders.
We were so close in 14-15.
Yes.
That was the year I felt like that was going to be a playoff series. It would have juiced everything up so much.
I wouldn't hate a nice playoff series to have some fun and just whatever, hang out with the Borellis or something like that and have some friendly competition. That'd be a blast, So I want to see both teams be good. I have no.
We probably would have had to play bouncer in that setting, but I said we probably would have had but it would have been worth it.
Hold hands up here to show calm to everybody.
We had series sharing that tailgate, and that was a rough one to be at. So we could have fun still, and I might have lost a few followers by saying that, but this is where we're at. We got to have fun, and it's a hockey community and not a heated rivalry. Which is another big subject these days.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show, man. Always a pleasure to see you. Great hanging with you, man. Glad you're here tonight. Hopefully you have a fun game and, excited for you guys at Rangers Ed, man.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank
folks,
you so much.
That was Little Ed from the Rangers Ed podcast. That will do it for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Launstein, ready to fight for you when your good name is on the line. So we're going to take one more break. When we come back, it's time for What's on Tap.
When in need of representation, it's not always easy to know where to turn. But whether you've been accused of a crime or need to go to court, Razor, Kniff, and Launstein, attorneys at law, have you covered with over 100 years of combined experience. With offices in Manhattan, Mineola, and Suffolk, Razor, Kniff, and Launstein is an award-winning law firm specializing in criminal defense with additional expertise in business debt settlement, trust and estates, personal injury, and more. At Razor, Kniff, and Launstein, you'll have direct access to your attorney 24/7. Because more attentive service translates to better outcomes. You deserve legal representatives with national recognition and a strong track record of delivering results. And Razor, Kniff, and Launstein are ready to fight for you. Call 212-LAW-1500 or go to razorandkniff.com to schedule a free, no-risk consultation today. That's RAISERANDKENNIFF.com. Razor, Kniff, and Launstein. We win cases because we make your problems our problems.
Hey there, welcome back. We missed you too. Now kick up your feet and settle back in to Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, folks. It's the calm before the storm here at Hockey Night New York, live from the great Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach. Having a great time here. Looking forward to watching the game with all the great folks here at Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach. So, Arthur, let's take a look at what's happened for the Islanders here. It all starts tonight. Islanders Rangers from Madison Square Garden. Pretty simple here. Just do what you did last night, right? With Sorokin in goal.
Yeah, and obviously that's a little bit better bet with Sorokin in goal, and I wonder if he can shut them out again. That'd be something. 3 shutouts to the Rangers in 4 games.
That would be something.
But I think the most important thing is to go in there and do what they did in Philly, do what they did the other night. Jump on top early of a team that's feeling vulnerable, probably not feeling great about themselves, still waiting to see what's going to happen with Artemi Panarin, waiting to see if anything else is going to happen with any of the guys that might actually be in the lineup tonight.
Sure, yeah.
So, I think it's just go about your business. The Islanders have been really professional all year long, and really it harkens back, I think, to the Barry Trotz tone that was set 6-7 years ago. Just be pros. Just go in and play a professional game. Don't get too caught up in anything. I imagine that, the little extracurriculars that happened where the Rangers got those 3 penalties to none for the Islanders in that one.
Talk about rarities, huh?
I would imagine that the Rangers are going to want to try to stir it up a little bit, get their crowd into it. I imagine it's going to be a very good Islander crowd there at MSG tonight as well.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I think you don't get sucked into a game like that against a team that's way below you in the standings. That's not a shot at the Rangers. That's the team that's on the schedule right now, and they're sitting last in the East. So I think you just want to be as calm and determined and aggressive as you can be.
How much goodwill do the Islanders lose if they don't take the 2 points tonight?
Yeah, that's a tough one. We're 0 for the season here at Burley's
Yes.
Tap Room, so there's a lot
Everywhere.
There's a lot riding on this one, so we'll have to see what happens.
I don't think we've had a win for any pregame show, whether it's been here or at Bagel Boston
that's
Hewlett.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So
Must be
we
me.
are. Listen, I wasn't going to say it, Arthur, but I appreciate a man who can be self-aware. So
It's fair.
maybe it is.
I've been bad luck in a lot of other ways here, so certainly possible.
No. But yeah, we're hurting for a win here. So hopefully our fortunes here at Hockey Night in New York can change and they get the 2 points. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Show up like you did last night. Get out there. Get on the board early. Pile a couple of goals out there and get Sorokin another shutout against the Rangers.
Yeah. It's you want another. It's a quick turnaround. I think Ondrej Palat now and him and Carson Soucy. No practices yet. 2 games, obviously against a familiar opponent for Soucy, but yeah, I think you're not trying to do too much creative, too much different especially with 2 new guys that you got to integrate with basically one morning skate and a lot of video that Patrick Waugh and the video staff mailed to them. So yeah, I just think be simple, be smart, kind of the way that we were preaching, the way that they could get out of the hole on the road trip when they weren't scoring enough. They're scoring plenty now, but keep it simple again.
Keep it simple, and just to interrupt the thought here, hey, huge thanks to Angel Craze 9 there, super chat, nice little donation to the show here, to the
I like
program.
that.
Thanks, guys. Just wanted to send you both some beer money. I hope it's enough. USA prices are different in comparison to the UK, so a little love from across the Atlantic.
Overseas, I like it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Angel Craze. We really appreciate that. That is awesome. Thank you so much. And now let's look at the only other game on the docket before the next show on Sunday. Saturday, rematch against Nashville. They've seen them recently. They dropped that one in a shootout. They actually looked pretty good in that game, just couldn't get the goal scoring. And unfortunately, the bonus round went to the bad guys. But this is a team who's kind of back in the playoff race. I think they're 6 points out of a wild card in the West, so they're hanging around. But this is a team that the Islanders should beat at home.
Yep. They haven't had much luck against Nashville. They have at home, but definitely not on the road. But it's again, you want to be a good team, and we can talk about playing down to the level of their opponents. This is not that far down. The Rangers are a little further down. But just go out and win. Just go out and score some goals. They don't have too many games, I think, left before the Olympic break. We can touch on it a little bit with Mathieu Darche, where the brief presser that he gave after the trades before the game last night, where he said, I'm willing to trade my extra first round pick for more help. We just got to see what we're going to do. He's obviously been, he's shown that he was aggressive with these 2 trades, even though they weren't big, blockbuster type trades, but wanted to reward the team for doing well. And now I think the next move that you might make, or that he might make, is to, really add a younger scoring winger, give up some assets, give up one of your prospects. I know that we talked about at the beginning of the year, you certainly don't do that, but things have certainly changed. This is a team that shown it can be a playoff team, and like we said in the earlier segment, no one scares you in the East. The Islanders have the best goalie in the league. They have the Calder Trophy winner on defense. They have guys who can score some goals. Why not? Why not? It's the why not us.
Why not us?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is another game where you put a team to bed. Maybe you're putting a team to bed that wants to start selling and has some interesting things to sell. Maybe you say to yourself, if you're Mathieu Darche, like, I worked with Steven Stamkos a long time. Maybe he wants to come to the island for those last couple of years of his contract.
Yeah.
Not exactly a guy who's young, but he certainly moves the needle. So, I just think... if you're a playoff team this time of year and there's teams that are on the fence about buying or selling that are a little bit out of it, like Nashville, make them sellers.
I love that. That's a T-shirt right there. Make them sellers.
Go out and get your 2 points, give them none, and make them not, make Barry Trotz say, you know what, I'm not on the fence anymore.
And the bottom line is you can't take 0 points from this team in a season series, right? You got to take at least, at least one. Okay, you lose another shootout, I guess you get over it. But get 2 tonight.
Yeah.
Split the series.
I agree.
Make them sellers.
Make them sellers. All right. That's the message.
Great stuff, Arthur. Let's move on to Hero of the Week. Okay, it's time to talk about exemplary Islanders over the past week plus. It's been a little while since our last show, but here we are. Arthur, I would appreciate it very much if you could go first.
All right, my guy, we mentioned him in the opening segment. The last couple of games has been lights out. Tony DeAngelo.
Hey.
Really, they just flashed him on the screen on the pregame. 23 points this year. That is a solid number. If he's a 30-point guy for $1 million, take that any day of the week,
Absolutely.
any year. I think his journey here has been so interesting. Obviously playing the Rangers, the kind of the nonsense that he had there.
Yes.
The fight with Alexander Georgiev. There were a couple other incidents there that made them put him on waivers. He obviously bounced back, got a big contract from Philly, didn't work out there. Carolina ends up in the KHL. Ends that contract, comes back. It's really his last ditch NHL as Lou Lamoriello takes a chance on him. And all of a sudden, within a week of him being here last year, he's playing 27 minutes a night because of injuries. But I think, you leave aside the off-ice stuff, the kind of the drama around him, and what you've got is a guy with incredibly good offensive instincts. He is what he is at the defensive end. He can move the puck. He skates well. And I think he's just, talking about this with Mike Rupp on the Daily Faceoff on the Tri-State Hockey Podcast. You talk to anybody that's played with Tony DeAngelo, they love him as a teammate. And he is just a guy, he's a South Jersey, Italian guy from South Jersey. So you know what kind of personality you're dealing with. And once you know that, I don't think you worry about all the rest. And I think what he's done as an Islander, to me, it's earned him a chance to stay. I understand on the right side, they might be looking to the future a little bit differently with Mayfield locked up. You can't really move him.
Right.
Pulock locked up for a little bit longer. So maybe there's not a spot for him. I feel like a guy who can play for that kind of money and play the way that he's played, he can be on my team any day.
Yeah, you love to see it, and you've listen. You wrapped that up with a bow very, very well. But we know what he was coming in. The defensive side of things not great, but I think that's even looked good recently. On top of the points that he's been putting up, as you pointed out. And he's a guy who's been in the league for a long time, and he's a guy who can help in the playoffs too. Now, listen, he may not be a stalwart back there at all times, but you nailed it. A great pick for the hero. I think he's had a great week, and if this is the timing for him to get it together and be a little bit better on both sides of the puck, then that's only going to help this team get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need that other threat from the back besides Schaefer. Schaefer's not going to be a guy that plays 30 minutes a night just because he's your only offensive guy. Tony operating the second power play unit really well. You got to have two threats there. We've been talking about the power play and how lacking it's been. When Tony's playing well, it means a lot, and it gets a lot of aspects of the Islanders game going.
No doubt about it. And now it is my turn. Great
Let's
pick there, Arthur.
Got.
I went with J.G. Pageau, the smiling man right there. Great week plus here. 5 points in the 5 games since our last program. He's been outstanding. Obviously, always a threat, shorthanded. He picks up a shorty this week. He got 2 goals the other night. This is a guy who's been excellent for this team. And my big thing is, especially with the situation that they're in now, how do you trade a guy like J.G. Pageau? Especially when you're in a playoff spot. And he's money in the playoffs. He's clutch. Forget about what he's doing during the regular season. But, you talk about a playoff performer and why he will probably, cause some phone calls to go Mathieu Darche's way leading up to the trade.
I would imagine.
Of course, absolutely. But, they've basically plainly said now, we're going to make the playoffs, and we want to see where it goes.
Yeah.
So I just don't see how, both of these things can happen at the same time. Where you get rid of a guy like him, yeah, sure. You wanna maximize the return. There's a high demand for centers, and he can help any other team. But why do you want to help those teams? Why do you want to hurt your team? And if you're serious about the playoffs, he can't. He's not going anywhere, right?
Playoffs are too important.
Right.
These trades that the Islanders made this week should be the last signal that they are not going to be in sell mode. There's not enough games left before this sort of pre-deadline next week with the Olympic freeze.
They won't fall out of the mix.
And then it's only 8 days that they'll be back, or 10 days they'll be back. No, they're not trading anybody that's a pending UFA, and I understand the fans that kind of got locked in on that and looking for more assets and more futures. That's not happening. Even if they don't add anybody else, they're not subtracting, and they're certainly not subtracting a guy like Pageau who's been playing well, like you said.
No, definitely not. So there's your heroes of the week, ladies and gentlemen. JG Pageau, Tony D'Angelo. Great stuff there. And now I'm going to tell you all about Isles Fix. That's right, Islanders Country. Get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter, sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at ilesfix.substack.com. And now it is time for Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead, ask us a question.
It's just not the same without Ed, right, Arthur?
It really isn't.
It's just not. It's just not. But we power through.
You're doing an amazing job, by the way. You're doing like 9 different things. I'm just
Dude, my
standing
hands
here
are everywhere.
holding a microphone.
I'm pushing
You're
a lot of
amazing.
buttons.
Amazing work.
I'm trying my best. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's start with State of Survival 8457. I didn't screen it, so it better be a good one. Are there more trades to be made, or are we done for the year? What other holes are left? Great question.
That is a great question, and we hinted at it a little bit. I still think a scoring winger is the way to go. I mentioned Steven Stamkos. That's obviously not a young guy. He is signed beyond this year. But, you know, you're looking at the connect the dots. Mathieu Darche went out a guy in Ondrej Palat that he knew very well from his time in Tampa. Steven Stamkos knows him very well from his time in Tampa. Stamkos, beginning of the year, he was really struggling. Now I think he's up to 25 goals, which is incredible at his age, 35 years old.
Yeah, I'll take
Guy's a machine.
I'll take it.
The contract is tough. Actually, since I don't have it in front of me, I don't know if it's 2 more years or 1 more year.
That's okay.
I think it is 2 more years. So, and it's a big number. I think 9 million or 8 million. So there are a lot of considerations to make here.
Yeah.
But, I think the ideal, the unicorn that not just the Islanders, that lots of teams are looking for is that 20-something scoring winger with some term left, cost controlled for a little while. It's going to cost a lot, and I think I've mentioned it, whether it's online or on the Tri-State podcast. Mathieu Darche said it the other day. He's willing to trade that Colorado first-round pick, which is probably going to be in the low, at the very best, probably 28 or 29. You got to sweeten it with something. It's not going to be anybody off the roster because you want to make the playoffs. So then you're starting to look at the prospects, and I think we've been saying it a lot, and fans have been saying it a lot. We're not giving up any of our prospects. Well, the plan has changed.
Yeah.
You've got Matthew Schaefer
Very
now
fluid.
operating at his level. 2 more years on his entry-level deal where you've got some cost control for him before you hand him the blank check for his next contract. You've got Ilya Sorokin, the clear-cut Vezina winner, maybe even a guy who's going to get some Hart Trophy votes because of the way he's been playing. Bo Horvat's playing at a high level. Matthew Barzal's playing at a high level. This is the time to strike. And you're not striking you're not going to trade, say, Cole Yzerman and the extra first-round pick for just anybody. You're not trading that for Steven Stamkos.
Right.
But would you trade that for Long Island's own Shane Pinto? I don't even know if he's available, but I sure would.
Yeah, I think he's a name you put on the list.
I think you're trying to look at guys like that. I don't think Ottawa's in sell mode right now, even though they're out of the playoffs as well. But if you have that package to start, you open up a lot of doors. You start a lot of conversations that way with Yzerman in the first. And I understand people would say, how could we trade Cole Yzerman, a guy who's going to be a future goal-scoring star? You are going to right. You go for the surer thing, which is a Jordan Kyrou, a Shane Pinto, another Long Island kid, and Matt Coronado. I don't know if you can pry him out of Calgary, but they're in sell mode too. So I think you're looking for that kind of guy, and if you can convince people that a team like a Calgary or an Ottawa that they're not setting their rebuild back too long by giving you a guy off their roster, then that's what you're going to try to do. So. It's a delicate dance, and lots of other teams are trying to do it. But I'm interested to see what Darche decides. And I think the way that he was talking the other day tells me that he is not finished. He's going to try his hardest to add a scorer. And if it's that kind of player, you can't be surprised at what it costs because those costs are high.
And just to wrap this question up, do you think he's done with the D?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think you get a Carson Soucy's not a exciting player.
Right.
He's a pro. He's stability back there in a spot that's been very unstable this year. And now you've got your 6 when everybody's healthy, and you've got Adam Boquist as your 7. And maybe if somebody else, somebody on the left side gets hurt, misses a couple weeks, you've got Isaiah George. You've got his game in, and maybe shows a little confidence there. But I think they're done there. I think that was all they needed to do, and they did it.
Great stuff, Arthur. Moving on. You know what? We got some Ranger fans in the chat. Let's get a question.
Yeah, let's.
You're a tri-state guy. You're covering all the teams.
I saw Coach Ed came in. So
yes, he did.
So
yes,
maybe we can call him up and get him to answer a quick one.
All right. Well, this one comes from Gaza 1877. As a Rangers fan, it's been a tough year for us. But what was the toughest year for you as an Islanders fan? Yo, Coach Ed. Let's go Rangers. Toughest year as an Islander fan. Man, there's a lot of them. There's plenty to choose from. That's for sure.
That is for sure. Let's pick a recent vintage for you, because you could go back into the if you went back.
I was going 90s.
Oh well,
yeah.
that's
easy, right? Easy pickings.
That's a layup.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the early 2010s were like a blur, man. Like that was. Yeah, thankfully, it's been enough time even from them where I've they blurred together and I've forgotten about it, right? Until the emergence in 14, 15 and 15, 16 and all that, right? Like those were some tough years. And they wore some awful jerseys. The Bill Guerin years, right? The Bill Guerin, Ruslan Fedotenko, Mike Comrie years. Those were tough years, and they look terrible on the ice too. So if you want to go with recent history, I'll go with that era. But overall, it's gotta be the 90s. I mean, now you look back and it's comical. Like somebody's got to almost do like a comedy documentary on that year, like almost like a Christopher Guest, type of movie on that.
Incredible. I mean, and I wasn't even covering the Islanders then, but the Spano era. Even the Milstein era of actual ownership, where they just sold everything off for parts, and the
ran out of the stadium because the arena because they said the scoreboard was going to fall.
Oh God, and trading Ziggy Palffy to the Rangers and having it rescinded because it was too lopsided.
Gary stepped in. He was like, "No, I think it was just for cash too."
It just was. It was a horrific time. I think I was working at Newsday covering high school sports then, and my aspiration was to be a hockey writer, and I ended up covering the Rangers sort of in that 2000s, like late 2000s era, where they were also a complete mess after their success earlier in the 90s. So I was just I remember being at a Ranger Islander game late in that 99-2000 season and thinking, like, this is what I want to do. Like, these two teams are terrible. Just awful, and thankfully it's turned around and they've all kind of ridden the opposite waves. But like we said,
it's so weird.
It would be so nice if they were both good.
Please, yeah. Even that mini blip on the radar for the Islanders in 02, 03, 04, and that was like the Sandy McCarthy, Theo Fleury years.
I covered the Rangers during those 3 years.
Well,
please don't remind me. Please don't remind me.
All right, great stuff.
Coach Ed and Little Ed can talk about the end of the 03-04 season after they made all their trades with some names that only diehard Ranger fans would know.
I'd love to sit in on that and take a nap. All right, great stuff, Gaza. All right, here we go. Never fails gamer. Question for you guys. Why is this team obsessed with playing McLean over Gatcomb? I hope when Callum returns, Gatcomb keeps his spot. I prefer his offensive ceiling and forecheck ability.
Yeah, I think Gatcomb is preferable to Kyle McLean, but Kyle McLean, I think he's found his niche a little bit. He found it a couple of years ago when he was a rookie and contributed some offense too, which was really nice. And obviously last year was a disaster for him. But I feel like when he is at his best, he is kind of a poor man's Casey Cizikas. He doesn't have the skills, doesn't have the hands,
sure.
But he does have the kind of the physicality and the willingness to engage. And I don't think you're. When you have established such a standard for a fourth line as the Islanders did for so many years, you still have some people around that remember that, whether it's fans, people in the front office. You want to get it back. Every team is looking for that fourth line. We were talking to, we'll talk to Little Ed again. Like the Rangers, part of their downfall this year was when their fourth line, which was a really good one with Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, and Matt Rempe, when Edstrom and Rempe got hurt, that's kind of when the team started to go in the tank. And fourth lines can really have a big impact. And obviously, the Islanders' identity line had the biggest impact on any fourth line probably this century. So you want to try to recapture it. The fact that you still have Cizikas, that he's still got a willingness to play.
And he's playing better recently.
To play that role. And I think he's playing better because he's gotten consistent line mates. It makes such a difference. So I don't think you want to dump McLean just yet. I think the ideal fourth line is what they've got: McLean, Cizikas, Gatcomb. Keep it together. Shabanov doesn't fit there. They've tried Siplikov there at times before they moved him.
Right.
You find the guys that are embracing that identity and you stick with it. So I don't think it's a McLean versus Gatcomb thing. I think they'll both play when things are going well.
All right, let's keep it with the lineup here. The Mustard Tiger, great name.
Oh, I like that.
When Richie comes back, who is the most likely center to move to the wing?
I think it might be Barzal.
Okay.
I think the way that Pajot is playing, I think you go down the middle with Richie on the third line, Pajot, second, third line, whatever you want to call it. And I think now that you've got Palat to be that stabilizer in the middle, maybe it's not Palat, Horvat, Barzal, maybe it's Drouin there, maybe it's Duclair there, but I think you can make a little bit happen there because Patrick Roy has changed the line so much, either out of necessity because of injury or just trying to see some different things.
Yeah.
Guys have a lot of familiarity with each other. So my first move would be to try Barzal back on Horvat's wing, see if that works. You're not going to have super dynamic offense from second, third, fourth line there, or at least second and third line, but I'm interested to see. And there's also a possibility that Cal Ritchie slots in on the wing with J.G. Pajot, let's say.
Sure.
I know they like the Lee Pajot-Holmstrom line, but it is a decision, and Cal Ritchie deserves to come back in. I have a sneaking suspicion that when he's healthy, we're not necessarily going to know it right away. I think this day-to-day injury might last a little bit longer, seeing how it goes while they integrate.
We've seen those tricks before.
Sure, everybody does it.
Yes.
So you want to see what you have in Ondrej Palat without kind of insulting Cal Ritchie. But Cal Ritchie is the young guy in this equation, so I imagine he's going to have to wait his turn until something falls apart or somebody gets hurt. If we don't see him again before the Olympic break, not ideal, but I think that's just the way it works, especially if they're winning games.
That's the way it works, folks. All right, moving on to the next one. This ties into what you were talking about before with potential forwards that they could look at. Paul Florence, R3E. Who's your favorite choice of scoring winger to add before the deadline? Pick your number one.
I think I would go with Matt Coronado. I would love to see him come back here. He's he doesn't have a ton of size, but I think he is a bulldog type player. He's a guy who to me is a guy like he can score, but when he's not scoring, he's doing a lot for your team. He's not just a guy who's out there to score goals. You look at the kind of season that Jordan Kyrie's had. He's a name that I've mentioned a lot.
Yes.
Maybe a better proven scorer, but also a guy who has had problems staying focused when he's not scoring. And that's really the risk you take with a scorer. And I think that's kind of been the knock on Cole Yzerman, especially this year. When he's not scoring, what is he doing to help his team win, which is not much. BU is having a really rough year. I think that's kind of the Oliver Wahlstrom syndrome, too, that he fell victim to when he wasn't scoring or realized he wasn't necessarily going to be an NHL scorer the way he was at the amateur level. I think his game drifted a little bit, and it took him too long to kind of bring it back. So I think if you can identify a guy who can score some goals and also give you a little bit of punch in other areas, that's to me a consummate top six scoring winger. And for me, Coronado kind of fits that bill.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Kyrou because I look at his stat line, I see 3 30-goal seasons.
Yep.
And when was the last time the Islanders had more than one 30-goal scorer on the squad at one time?
Yeah.
So I'd almost say, and don't get me wrong, like the other guys on the list, Pinto, whomever it might be, I would be perfectly fine with that. But just seeing what this guy's output has been on the scoring side of things, like it'd be nice to have multiple guys who can finish, and just put goals in the net, right? Even if there are a few warts here. I mean, maybe Yzerman ends up being that guy, exactly, right? But for me, like any one of those guys, but picking a favorite, I'm going to go with Kyrou.
Fair enough.
All right, fair enough. We'll sneak one more in before we wrap this thing up. Let's see what we got here. Never Fails Gamer once again. After the WJC and poor NCAA, speaking of Yzerman, is it better to trade Yzerman before his trade value dips further?
The way I look at it is the Islanders have a new set of developmental eyes on him. They have Mathieu Darche, they have Ryan Bonus, guys that weren't here before. There'll be more changes to come, I would imagine, in the front office as Darche gets settled and maybe some other guys cycle out that were here that Lou brought in. So the group that drafts you, when they leave and you've got a new set of eyes on you, you have to be able to produce. And it's maybe just bad timing for Cole Yzerman that had the injury, and that's clearly set him back this season. But I think you needed to see a guy like him in his second year out from being drafted take a huge step forward, show them that he's got to be a pro at the end of this season, and it hasn't happened.
Right.
And I wonder about if Mathieu Darche goes to Cole Yzerman in his camp and says, we need to see one more year in college, and I don't imagine that would sit very well with them.
Right.
Now the relationship is a little bit fractured before it's even gotten started. So I that to me is just, I don't know anything specific. I haven't heard people that I talk to in the league say that his name is out there.
Okay.
But from a logic standpoint, where you look at their prospects, the other two first-rounders that they have in the amateur ranks, Keyshawn Aitchison and Victor Eklund, both Mathieu Darche selections. So obviously those are going to be higher maybe in his regard. And really some of their other guys like Danny Nelson or Quinn Finley, definitely more role-playing types than high-end types. So, to me, that's just sort of a logical way of saying, I think Yzerman could be the guy. I don't know that his value is going to dip very much. I think maybe there's some teams that do like him. And you've got to take advantage of that. You gotta give to get. And maybe the guy to give is Cole Yzerman.
We shall see, Arthur. That's going to do it for Questions Bruin. Thank you to everybody for getting your questions in. And Arthur, before we wrap this whole thing up, we got to sneak in your anthem here, buddy. So, with
Best
everything
for last.
going on, yes, exactly. Talk about some music for us, man.
All right. Well, after seeing the trades, seeing the wins, seeing the way the Islanders are treating this season now by adding, again, not super sexy ads, but they certainly were good ads.
Right.
I went with a band that I've always liked. They've always been kind of in the periphery of my fandom, but they're really great. At the drive-in, I'm going to go with
Nice.
No Wolf Like the Present, a song that tells you about let's seize the now, and I think the Islanders are ready to seize the now.
Seize the now. I like it. And, dude, I looked this song up. I didn't even realize they came back.
Yeah.
Because I remember, the one-arm scissor days.
Yeah. No,
And,
they've had a couple different phases.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right, well, great choice. Can't wait to check out that song. But, folks, it's almost time for Puck Drop, so we got to wrap it up here. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in live once again on the YouTubes, on the Twitters, and all that. Once again, thank you for the Super Chat, Angel Craze. That was phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody here at Borelli's Tap Room. Y'all ready for Islanders Rangers or what?
All right.
All right, we got some enthusiasm. I think you guys can do a little better. Are we ready for Islanders Rangers here? What's going on? All right, we'll check in the intermission. All right, sounds good. All right, well, for Arthur, for myself, Sean Cuthbert, we've been Hockey Night in New York. A huge thanks to Little Ed for joining us on the show here. And we're ready for Islanders Rangers hockey. So, once again, big thanks to Razor Kniff and Launstein Attorneys at Law for sponsoring the show. Ready to fight for you. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW-1500 for a free consultation. And Arthur Staple, where can we find you everywhere?
Stape NHL on Twitter, Tri-State Hockey Podcast, Daily Faceoff, and right here, hopefully again real soon.
Real soon. We're going to be back on Sunday, folks. You can follow me on the Twitter and Blue Sky at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show on all social media platforms at Hockey Night NY. You can check out the website at hockeynightny.com. And if you haven't already, please rate, review, and subscribe. So once again, we've been Hockey Night New York. We're having fun here at Borelli's Tap Room. Big thanks to them for having us. We're signing off. Have a great rest of your night and enjoy the game.